Hello, everyone. Welcome to our conversation on the occasion of World Quality Day. Today, I have with me Phanikar Bhaskara, who is the Product Excellence Head for the Quality Vertical in Caliber. And quality has been a core value at the center of everything that we do in Caliber. So it's, I think, a very appropriate time to discuss this. This year, the theme is moving from compliance to performance, and Funny will also bring in his valuable inputs to the conversation.
Definitely. So, thank you, Haripriya. You seem to say we are to move from compliance to performance. So, the theme itself is requiring us to move in this direction. So, does this mean we need to focus on, we need not focus on compliance and we need to extend? What is it? Can you just explain this a little more?
Yeah. So compliance is a given, Funny, and it is non-negotiable. So we don't move away from compliance. We ensure that compliance is woven into as an intrinsic fabric into everything, right from the design to the end output. But when we say that, the compliance becomes the big thing towards which we are working, there is a sort of dilution, and the ultimate purpose, which is patient safety, and the ultimate goal of patient safety is sometimes sidetracked. So compliance is not the end goal. It should be seen, automation, quality, compliance, all these should be seen as factors to reach the end goal of patient safety. And this is what even ISP, the pharma industry, recognizes this. And they have also come up with this three-step process where they talk about first quality management maturity, which should be followed by digital maturity, which should be followed by the pharma 4.0 maturity.
Great. I think this looks something similar to the CMM model that is applicable for the software industry as well.
Yes.
So, talking about the first stage of achieving Pharma 4.0, it has been set out to achieve in terms of the performance. It's a quality management maturity we are talking of. So, I think this is the ISP and the FDA have actually a very common model that has been put in place. Could you just take us through the rating scale and the expectations of this particular model, Haripriya?
Yeah. So the FDA has very nicely covered everything with respect to the quality management maturity as part of its scope. And it's come up with a mechanism by which companies can gauge where do we stand in terms of our quality management maturity. So at the initial stage, we have, the companies are just getting started. Not everything is defined. Maybe a few important things are defined. A lot of it is left out. And then comes the next stage of developing. So you identify that a few things, yes, definitely there is a necessity to, develop processes, define processes here. So they have identified, but things are not fully done. They're still working on the development aspect of whether it's the processes or the systems and structures that fall in place. The next, once you have developed, then you come to a stage where you are improving upon it, and then you come to a stage where you are managing it. So once you reach that stage where you are managing it, it's possible that you have all the systems in place. You might be having all the processes for both the positive flows as well as the negative flows or the deviations, but you might not be doing it at the optimum level. So the last stage is basically the optimum level where everything is working like a well-oiled machine. And once you have quality management maturity in place, then it's a very strong foundation for digital maturity to really give you the kind of returns. And I think, Fani, you were the best person to explain a little bit about digital maturity.
Yeah, I think we probably organizations don't need to wait till the level 5 to reach level 5 to get into digitalization, etc. In fact, I think the best part to start would be at level 3, I would say. So you have something in place which is manageable and things like that. And we should use digitalization to actually improve from level 3 to level 4 and level 5. So I reckon it is very good to start when you are at level 3, this entire process of digitalization, etc. Why, like, the at this managed state, the requirements are quite clear, and there is a strong base that is available for which the on which the software can be implemented, etc. So this includes not just positive flows of operations or anything, but there's also clarity on what happens if there are deviations, how do we manage our kappa. So this level of clarity is good enough to start automations and digitalizations, etc., which is very relevant to the needs of the organization. So with this strong QMS at level 3, then the digitalization can be easily successful. So the thing involves, identifying digitalization initiatives that align with the business goals, because there's a quite an understanding of what exactly is to be achieved, the business goals and strategies. So there is an equal chance of it being aligned to those. Then selecting the right applications that are fit for internet use. Once you know the goals and strategies, you just need to map the software. Is this software good enough to get me to the goals or business goals and strategies that we want to implement? So that sort of evaluation will be possible at that place. And then selecting, of course, experienced partners. Experienced partners really help us. Not only they don't need to start from scratch, so that's a very big help that they will be doing if they are really experienced. And defining the right KPIs, of course. Any business achievement or any other success definitely depends a lot on the KPIs that we choose. So KPIs should be in place, which is quite possible with the third level of maturity. And of course, the people play a very important role in taking things ahead and in the right manner. So ensure trained and experienced resources are available throughout the period of implementation or digitalization. So you need functional expertise, you need technical expertise, you need to know, you need to have people who are well versed with even the regulatory needs, etc. So trained and experienced resources will play a big role in successful implementation of digitalization. And of course, there is a lot of culture change that will be needed. But I reckon many organizations are really understanding this, and then they're putting a lot of things in place where the culture of automation, the culture of simplification is really setting in place. So, of course, the systems considered are aligned. We should ensure that the systems that are considered are definitely aligned, and that framework, we were talking also earlier of a systematic approach or a systemic approach will be very helpful. Uh,
So
the
it
last,
looks like,
yeah, Haripriya.
yeah, go ahead, please.
So the last point is there, the leadership support, which is very, very important. The leadership can definitely say, yes, do this, do that. But at the execution level, also the leadership will have to actually ensure a lot of support is provided, because the execution is what is the most complex thing. We get into a lot of other aspects, difficulties, etc. So the leadership should be able to support and should be willing to support the execution process with timely decisions and resources. Yeah, I think this is what should be taken care of while doing the digitalization activity.
Excellent.
Yeah,
So we
please, you're
have a
saying.
quality management maturity in place. We have digital maturity in place. Uh, can you elaborate a little bit on what is Pharma 4 maturity? Because once you have digital maturity, it looks like you're all set, you're all done. What else needs to be done to get to Pharma 4.0 maturity? What's the expectation there?
Um, I think like any other maturity levels or anything, Pharma 4 also looks at it as a bigger picture, as a holistic approach. It doesn't just concentrate on one part of the organization or something. That's the biggest, and that's how we should see the entire the entire environment. So Pharma 4 ensures this holistic strategy to the entire organization, and it makes sure that the right people are involved. So this again is a operational thing that needs to be taken care of, and validation will still be needed. But I think the approach of trying to get things faster in place with more automations and etc. is what the key is over here. And to get things faster in place is to do away with a lot of irrelevant documentation and focus on the core aspects of what need to be automated and what need to be really put in place, and then relate all that to the thinking that what can go wrong in these critical areas, etc., instead of taking the entire thing and then trying to form such a big picture that cannot be managed. The critical thinking is the word that really needs to be kept in mind. And compatibility of system solutions within the organization is also something that needs to be thoroughly looked into and addressed. And instead of getting into it and trying to implement everything, I think by design itself we should ensure this data integrity. Then that becomes a lot more easier than actually getting into difficulties while the execution is on. So by design itself is something, that word of by design is something we should really keep in mind when we get into this pharma 4 environment.
That's very interesting, funny. And like they say now, data is the new gold.
Oh,
So
yes.
just getting, to the stage of digitalization is not enough. As an organization, there's so much data that gets generated in the pharma industry across the supply chain. And really, for us to leverage that data, and, they're even talking about Pharma 5.0. So to really
Yes,
get to that stage, and AI, generative AI, ML, these are the buzzwords. But for us to get there, there's so much of groundwork that needs to be done, a very strong foundation that needs to be set in place. And that's why the focus on let's get to perform. And I think this is a very nicely laid out roadmap, which has been put in by ISPE. So I think companies can start, using all these best practices to put down their strategies and their vision in a very clear way, and really leverage the potential that is unleashed by um, digital maturity, as well as the technologies that help us get there, the technologies of the future.
definitely,
So
definitely.
it's a very, very strong message that has come in. Compliance is not going anywhere. It's there, and it's going to be there forever. We always need to be compliant. And how do we get there all the time? Like, how do we ensure that compliance is coexisting in our entire environment with whatever we do? It's with good quality. And as you go up in terms of your operations scalability, if you are trying to scale up the way we did during the COVID times, that was a very big learning experience. If you are trying to achieve quality and scalability, you definitely need digitalization. It cannot be done through a hybrid model. And getting to Pharma 4.0 as well as 5.0 is going to be very, very key to our survival as well as growth. So on that note, thank you very much, Funny. Very insightful discussion. And we wish everyone a very happy World Quality Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Haripriya.